What is up? So I was just thinking, and the theme, the power of attention, came to my mind. I think there's a book called The Power of Intention. I am not reading the book, but the word intention came to my mind. So I thought, you know what? Let's just talk about it, right? Let's be authentic. Let's just talk about it. And so I did make some notes about intention, and I'm actually really curious, like when you hear intention, what comes up for you? I know, like, over this past year, I have been having lots of experience with intention and really having a deep understanding with it. So I'm really curious on, when you think of intention, what comes up for you? You know, your girl loves to Google definitions. You know, I love like knowing the root of, about the word, so I can actually understand it and use it correctly. And so when I looked up on Dr. Google, Google said intention is a thing intended, an aim or a plan. Also, it had a very interesting, it had a medicine definition, and pretty much on that definition, it said the healing process of a wound. And that was like, okay, let's just keep going with this. Let's see like what else unfolds, because something that I heard on this past Tuesday is that healing is within you. Healing is within you, it's within me, it's with all of us. Like, our body is made to heal itself, you know. Um it's going to do whatever it takes to naturally heal itself. That's what the body does. And so whenever I saw the word, I mean the definition, there's a medicine definition of intention, healing process of a wound. I was like, man, I get to, just further reflect on this even after this video, because whatever our aim is, whatever our plan is, it is always going to surface. It is always going to happen. It is always going to follow through. So I was looking up some more words just in relation to intention. And so I saw this sentence. It was kind of like a broken sentence, but it was like consciously, deliberately, explicitly, expressly, knowingly, and willingly. So whenever we are intentional, we are willingly, right? When we are intentional about a plan, we are willing, no matter what the consequences are. We are knowing, we are faithful in the pursuit of the plan or the aim or the target. We are bold, we are courageous when we are being intentional. We are authentic in our journey on intention. We're deliberate, we're convicted, and we're conscious, we're aware, we're present on what we are being intentional about. So, and I guess like on a more spiritual level, consciously aligning our thoughts, our words, and our behaviors with our targets or goals. When we are being intentional, we are consciously aligning our thoughts, our words, and our behaviors with our targets. And I used to wonder, as a kid, and I'm actually releasing this because I feel like it is actually going to support me into getting to my next level. But I would, as a kid, I'm a like little kid, probably right before teen years. It was this one man. He was a family friend. He came to the house, and I mean, I'm a kid, when adults talk, you kind of listening. And I heard this guy, and like he was just like talking about like something that he was good at. But I, even as a kid, I picked up that this man was not confident. Like, I knew like he didn't believe in himself. I didn't say it as a kid, but I'm like, I wonder why. Like, I didn't say this either, but from an adult looking back, I was wondering, like, why isn't this guy successful? Like, my parents are like rooting him on, like they're proud of him, like, he's making a difference. But even in his, like, he didn't have any authority or belief. Like, he knew like he was talented, but it was it was like an energy, an unserving energy on him. And so I just remember that moment. I'm like, man, like, why don't he just go all in? Like, why don't he just making it a success? Because for me, as a child at the time, I was just thinking like, I know like there were people who weren't confident in class, but I just equated, well, they don't do their homework, they don't, have any interest in being here. Like they play around in class, like they're not being studious. Yes, I was definitely a teacher's pet. Yes, I was definitely, that honor roll student, just because, yeah, I just was. But I used to see like the kids who really weren't that confident in class. It was obvious logically for me, like, okay, this kid, they're not applying themselves, they're not interested, they don't care, that was just kind of my kid interpretation of the situation. And so whenever I saw this guy, I'm like, man, like, why don't he believe in himself? Like, if my parents are saying like he's doing a great job, they're proud of him, he knows, like he's like, yeah, but I just felt like, he didn't have any reward for what he was talented with, what he was blessed with. So as a kid, like that always has been like, actually throughout my life, that has always been like in my mind, like, why are some people just not successful? And not from like a good bad situation, but just genuinely, I'm very curious, I'm a very curious person. I'm like, how come, like how come like he didn't succeed, or he doesn't have any fruits from his being, from his efforts. I always have wondered that. And so as an adult, I found out real quickly there's this thing called life. And especially just being a human being on this planet, we found out real quick there are other factors that come into play. As a kid, I didn't know that, but now it was like, like it's not just, it's like some other things that we get to work out. It's not just I show up and I work hard. It's also the spiritual level for us to achieve, right? The X factor, how like whenever you intend something, and then all of a sudden everything just works out flawlessly, or all of a sudden this person, you say, hey man, I really need this, and then this person say, hey, I really want to give away this. And that's that X factor, that's that divine factor, that's that spirituality working, universal law working for us. And then also like there's a lot of work and healing that we get to grow through from our journey. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of trauma that we have experienced, but we think it's normal. But on a conscious level, or even on an emotional level, on a mental level, we aren't healthy as adults, right? Like there's a lot of things that we get to heal from our childhood. There's a lot of things that we get to heal within ourselves that happened to us or happened for us, but it hasn't been addressed, it hasn't been counseled, it hasn't been mentored, it hasn't been worked out. And so it is holding us back, even from like our beliefs. Like there's things that we believe that are actually it's halting, it's capping our progress, right? And so I didn't know that as a kid, but I learned that over the past few years, especially because I do a lot of personal development. I pay a lot of people to help me help me get out of my own way. And it's like I have a different view of things. And so I really wanted to just share with you that on your journey to your target, to your goal, to your best self, on your journey on your level of mastery, I must consciously, presently align our words, what we say. We cannot say like, oh yeah, my goal is to be healthy. I'll just use this. My goal is to be healthy. But at the same time, we are saying to ourselves, like my body, I'm fat, right? we got to align our words like, oh, another day I am, I'm a healthy person, I am doing the things that healthy people do, I'm on my way. You know what I'm saying? Being graceful and loving to ourselves on our journey. So we get to consciously align our words. What are we saying about ourselves towards that target? What are our thoughts? We cannot say I want to be healthy but then say, well, I can't be healthy because my family's not healthy or this runs in my family. Like, that's not true. Like, if you don't ever believe that you are going to be healthy or successful, or you don't ever believe you're going to be rich, and you may think like, oh, it's possible, but if you're not believing also means being faithful in the actions towards that, then you're not believing. Your thoughts are actually proving to you that you don't see it for yourself, that you're not aligned, that you're not being intentional on that target, on that goal, right? And your behaviors, our behaviors get to be consciously aligned with the target. I really hope, because I'm like, oh man, this is opening up so much for me. Our behaviors get to be consciously aligned with the target. If we want to be healthier, we get to do the things, take the action that healthy people do. If we want to be successful, we get to do the things that successful people do, right? We get to invest. We get to read. I'm using like neutral examples, like the weight loss, whatever. We get to actually move our body, burn calories every single day. We get to actually say no to eating the dessert. I'm using these examples because these are like, everybody talks about making more money, being healthier, being, better in relationships. So that's why I'm using these examples, to give you perspective of what I'm saying. So, with all that being said, what are you super intentional about? Like, I really want to have this conversation in the chat below, because the more that we bounce ideas off each other, the more that we grow, and we learn, like, wow, this is this is the key to life. This is really all it takes. So whenever I think about the story about the man who didn't have the fruits, right? And this is from my perspective. Maybe he was totally happy with his standard of life, but this is just me as I probably was like 12 or 11 when this happened. To me, his behavior did not show his intention for being successful. I can't remember what he was doing, but they were like going on and really proud of him. His behavior wasn't because he was like, oh yeah, versus like, yeah, thank you, like owning it, not being arrogant, but owning, like, yeah, I work hard, I'm intentional about it. His words, whatever he said, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, he was, oh yeah, but it wasn't like authoritative. I don't know if that makes sense. So what I invite you all is just whatever it is, and this is for me too, Zay, just whatever we are super focused on, we get to be 100% intentional. We get to align consciously, like knowing like, this is me showing up, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it. We get to consciously align our thoughts, we get to align our words, and we get to align our behaviors with our targets. I would love to hear, what was your biggest takeaway? What did you hear me say? And also, like, expound, like, how do you relate with the word intention? Like, what have you learned when you were intentional about something? And maybe we'll go deep on that too. I would kind of want to talk about, like, have you ever said like, yeah, this is my goal, this is my goal, this is my goal. But like when let's say, oh, I'm going to lose 10 pounds this month. But then when you look at, you realize that, and like, you realize like, oh man, I didn't lose the 10 pounds because like, I really didn't even like give myself permission. Like, I didn't even try. I didn't even put any effort to do the activities. So I would really love to continue this conversation, because I really think that this is a true key to life. And I will see you on the next video.